Imagine the rush of fantasy football, the excitement of game day, and then the sinking feeling when you realize your star player is on the bench because you missed the deadline. That is a scenario every fantasy manager wants to avoid. So, what time do fantasy lineups actually lock for games? The most common answer is that your fantasy lineup locks at the kickoff time for each individual game your players are involved in. However, this crucial deadline can also vary quite a bit, depending on your specific league settings and the fantasy platform you are using. The why behind these varied lock times is fascinating and stems from a few key factors. First, the core reason is to align with the real-world schedule of professional football games. You cannot bench a player or move them to your starting lineup once their actual game has begun, because that would give an unfair advantage. Your league wants to ensure fair play, so once the ball is kicked off, that player's status for your fantasy team is usually set. Secondly, many leagues operate on a game time lock for each individual player. This means if you have a player in an early Sunday game, their spot locks an hour before that game starts, but your player in a late afternoon game will not lock until just before their specific kickoff. This allows you flexibility throughout the day. However, some leagues, often set up by the commissioner, might opt for an all-day lock. In this setup, every player on your roster, regardless of when their game starts, locks at the very first kickoff of the day, typically 1 o'clock Eastern Time on Sundays. This can also apply to Thursday night games, where the entire week's roster locks at the kickoff of that Thursday evening match. Finally, the specific fantasy football platform you use, such as ESPN, Yahoo, or Sleeper, often has default settings that dictate these lock rules. While commissioners can customize them, understanding these defaults helps you anticipate the general time frame. Now, how do you make sure you are always on top of these deadlines? The best practice is to always check your league's specific rules page on your fantasy platform. This section will clearly outline whether your league uses individual game locks or an all-day lock. Additionally, always keep an eye on your actual player roster page. Most platforms will display a countdown or an explicit lock time next to each player, especially as game day approaches. Setting up alerts or notifications on your phone for early games is another excellent strategy. Here is an insider tip that can really save you points. Pay extra close attention to early kickoff games. This includes Thursday night football, Saturday games later in the season, and especially those international games that start in the morning in the United States, like the London matchups. Missing those early locks can mean leaving valuable points on your bench. By understanding these nuances, you gain a significant strategic edge, allowing you to make last-minute adjustments based on injury reports or unexpected news right up until the critical moment. Ultimately, knowing your lineup lock times is not just about avoiding frustration. It is about maximizing your team's potential. By understanding the core reasons why these times exist and by diligently checking your league's specific rules, you ensure your best players are always active, preventing lost points and significantly boosting your chances of winning your weekly matchup and dominating your league. It is a fundamental part of staying competitive and enjoying the game.